Yashoda Nandana Rajana Rajana Yashoda Nandana Rajana Rajana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Shri Shri Radha Kirshor Gopinath ki jai, Jagannath Baladev Subhadra ki jai, Gaur Nitai ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Brhat Prabhu ki jai.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. O my Lord, all-pervading personality of Godhead, offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udirayat. Before reciting this Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supremest human being, and to Mother Saraswati, the goddess of Narayana, and Vyasadeva, the author. Nashtabdayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regularly attending some classes of the Bhagavatam and by rendering in service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Jnana-timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Hare Krishna, everyone. Good morning.
Good morning.
So today we're doing a spontaneous impromptu class. We don't have the association of our dear Venkatesh Prabhu by some arrangement of eternal time. He has not made it this morning. So we're continuing on in the dynasty of Maharaj Nimi. And yesterday we finished with text 11. So we'll read 12 through 27. Okay. So let's see what happens in the unfolding of the history of the universe leading up to the appearance of Lord Ramachandra and especially Lord Krishna in 10th canto, which is just coming soon. So Canto 9, Chapter 13, starting with text 12. Please read with me. Thereafter, to save the people from the danger of an unregulated government, the sages churned Maharaj Nimi's material body, from which, as a result, a son was born. Because he was born in an unusual way, the son was called Janaka. And because he was born from the dead body of his father, he was known as Vaideha. Because he was born from the churning of his father's material body, he was known as Mithila. And because he constructed a city as King Mithila, the city was called Mithila. O King Parikshit, from Mithila came a son named Udavasu. From Udavasu, Nandivardhana. From Nandivardhana, Suketu. And from Suketu, Devarata. From Devarata came a son named Brihadrata. And from Brihadrata, a son named Mahavirya, who became the father of Sudriti. The son of Sudriti was known as Drishtaketu, and from Drishtakeshu came Haryashva. From Haryashva came a son named Maru. The son of Maru was Pratipaka, and the son of Pratipaka was Kritarata. From Kritarata came Devamidha, from Devamidha Vishruta, and from Vishruta Mahadriti. From Mahadriti was born a son named Kritirata, and from Krirata was born Maharoma. From Maharoma came a son named Swarnaroma, and from Swarnaroma came Hraswaroma. From Hraswaroma came a son named Shiradwaja, also called Janaka. When Shiradwaja was plowing a field, from the front of his plow, Shira, appeared a daughter named Sita Devi, who later became the wife of Lord Ramachandra. Thus he was known as Shiradwaja. The son of Shiradwaja was Kushadwaja, and the son of Kushadwaja was King Dharmadwaja, who had two sons, namely Kritadwaja and Mitadwaja. O Maharaj Parikshit, the son of Kritadwaja was Keshidwaja, and the son of Mitadwaja was Kandikya. The son of Kritadwaja was expert in spiritual knowledge, and the son of Mitadwaja was expert in Vedic ritualistic ceremonies. Kandikya fled in fear of Keshidwaja. The son of Keshidwaja was Bhanuman, and the son of Bhanuman was Shatadumna. The son of Shatadumna was named Shuchi. From Suchi, Sanadwaja was born, and from Sanadwaja came a son named Urjaketu. The son of Urjaketu was Aja, and the son of Aja was Purujit. The son of Purujit was Arishtanemi, and his son was Shrutayu. Shrutayu begot a son named Suparshvaka, and Suparshvaka begot Chitrarata. The son of Chitrarata was Kshemadhi, who became the king of Mithila. The son of Kshemadhi was Samarata, and his son was Satyarata. The son of Satyarata was Upaguru, and the son of Upaguru was Upagupta, a partial expansion of the fire god. The son of Upagupta was Vasvananta. The son of Vasvananta was Yuyudha. The son of Yuyudha was Subhashana, and the son of Subhashana was Shruta. The son of Shruta was Jaya, from whom there came Vijaya. The son of Vijaya was Rita. The son of Rita was Shunaka. The son of Shunaka was Vitahavya. The son of Vitahavya was Dhriti, and the son of Dhriti was Bahulashva. The son of Bahulashva was Kriti, and his son was Mahavashi. Shukadev Goswami said, "My dear King Parikshit, all the kings of the dynasty of Mithila were completely in knowledge of their spiritual identity. Therefore, even though staying at home, they were liberated from the duality of material existence." That was a test in Sanskrit pronunciation. I found myself really absorbed just trying to pronounce everything properly. I'm not usually so attentive when we're reading the translations. So we're hearing all these names of personalities we may not be familiar with. And I asked Prabhupada Priya about this topic. Why is there so much genealogy in Bhagavatam? If Parikshit Maharaj is going to die in 7 days, why is it important to hear so many individual names? And one perspective she gave me was that these are our family. This is like our spiritual family. And in the same way as you would be interested to hear about the genealogy of your current body, you know, we go on to some website, 23andMe, or some genealogy website, and we can get really absorbed. Wow, my great-grandfather was this wonderful physician, and he traveled to this part of the world, and we get so absorbed in that. So if we can recognize that this is actually our more accurate family, because these are all of the devotees leading up to Krishna, and we're all part of Krishna's family. So there's that, and then there's also, as we see in text 27, these are not ordinary people. These are self-realized souls. Atma Vidya Visharada, those who are expert in spiritual knowledge. And Dvandvai Mukta, they were all freed from the duality of material life. So simply to say the names of such exalted souls, we get benefit. And gradually we may learn more about these individuals as we go on reading and studying. So we'll do text 27, I'm guessing? Okay. So the Sanskrit, yeah, Ete vai Maitila Rajan, this means it's referring to Ete, all of these Maitila, all these descendants of Mithila. And how is Mithila related to... Anyway, it's a little complicated, but we see that Sita Devi was born among this, from King Janak, who also, I didn't know, has the name Shira Dwaja, because Shira means plow, and Dwaja means birth, one who's born from the plow. So Sita Devi's name, if you didn't know, is also born from the plow. So Atma Vidya Visharada, they're all self-realized souls. Yogeshwara Prasadena, by the grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Yogeshwara, which isn't in Srila Prabhupada's translation. So that's an interesting note. Sometimes if you don't look in the word for word, you'll miss something. So perhaps in Srila Prabhupada's purport, he'll explain what this means. Was it that by the grace, by the prasad of Lord Yogeshwar, that's why they were expert in spiritual knowledge? We can wait and see. And then finally, Dvandvai Mukta Griheshu Api. Although they were grihastas, they weren't bewildered. They were freed from the attachment of material life, the duality of thinking, this is my home, my family, and those are other people's homes and other people's family. No, they were seeing everything as Krishna's property. So we can chant. Ite vai Mithila Rajan, Atma Vidya Visharada, Yogeshwara Prasadena, Dvandvar Mukta Griheshu Api. Ite vai Mithila Rajan, Atma Vidya Visharada, Yogeshwara Prasadena, Dvandvar Mukta Griheshu Dvandvar Mukta Griheshu. Ite vai Maitila Rajan, Atma Vidya Visharada, Yogeshwara Prasadena, Dvandvar Mukta Griheshu Api. Ite vai Mithila Rajan, Ite vai Mithila Rajan, Atma Vidya Visharada, Yogeshwara Prasadena, Yogeshwara Prasadena, Dvandvar Mukta Griheshu Api. Dvandvar Mukta Griheshu Api. Ite vai Maitila Rajan, Atma Vidya Visharada, Yogeshwara Prasadena, Dvandvar Mukta Griheshu Api. Everyone, huh? Worked out just right. I was just looking up this word, Visharada. So V is an intensifier, and Sharad is one who is refined or matured in knowledge. Is this something in Hindi? Sharad? Yeah. So Visharad is one who is highly learned, highly realized in what? Atma Vidya. So it helps us understand more of the glories of these kings. Okay. Again, Shukadeva Goswami said, "My dear King Parikshit, all the kings of the dynasty of Mithila were completely in knowledge of their spiritual identity. Therefore, even though staying at home, they were liberated from the duality of material existence." One of the Vaishnavis want to read? Yeah. Go ahead.
This material world is called Dvaita or duality. The Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adhyaya 4.176 says, Dvaite Bhadra Jnana Sava Mano Dharma Ei Bhala Ei Manda Ei Sava Brahma. In the world of duality, that is to say, in the material world, so-called goodness and badness are both the same. Therefore, in this world, to distinguish between good and bad, happiness and distress is meaningless because they are both mental concoctions, manodharma, because everything here is miserable and troublesome. To create an artificial situation and pretending to be full of happiness is simply illusion. The liberated person, being above the influence of the three modes of material nature, is unaffected by such dualities in all circumstances. He remains Krishna conscious by tolerating so-called happiness and distress. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 2.14.
Everyone. Matra sparshas tu kaunteya shitoshna sukha dukhada agama payino nityas tam sthitiksha svabharata.
O son of Kunti, the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress and their disappearance is in due course are like the appearance and disappearance of winter and summer seasons. They arise from sense perception. Those kind of Bharata, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. Those who are liberated, being on the transcendental platform of rendering service to the Lord, do not care about so-called happiness and distress. They know that these are like changing seasons which are perceivable by contact with the material body. Happiness and distress come and go. Therefore, a pandita, a learned man, is not concerned with them. As it is said, Gatasam agatasam scha nano shochanti panditaha. The body is dead from the very beginning because it is a lump of matter. It has no feelings of happiness and distress because the soul within the body is in the bodily concept of life. He suffers happiness and distress, but these come and go. It is understood herewith that the kings born in the dynasty of Mithila were all liberated persons, unaffected by the so-called happiness and distress of this world.
Thank you. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So Srila Prabhupada gave the whole purport on just 2 words of the Sanskrit. Dvandvai mukta. So you can see how rich is the Srimad Bhagavatam, that just a few words and you can give a nice purport, and we can have a whole seminar on just those 2 words. Actually, Sanatan Goswami also said, Sahadev was quoting this recently, he has this glorification of Bhagavatam, and he says that every syllable contains a flood of prema in Bhagavatam. How does the Sanskrit go? Prema varshi aksharayate. Yeah, every syllable of Bhagavatam has prema laden within it. So there's great meaning, and before we move on, I just wanted to close the loop. So Srila Prabhupada, neither in his purport nor in the translation, addressed what is Yogeshwara Prasadena. And my best understanding is that by the grace of Krishna, we receive Atma Vidya. It's not on our own that we can receive spiritual knowledge. It comes through parampara, ultimately from Krishna, and it comes to those who are serving in a pleasing attitude. We see in Bhagavad Gita 10:10, Tesham satata yuktanam, to those who are constantly connected to me, bhajatam priti purvakam, and serving me with affection, dadami buddhi yogam tam, I give them the knowledge, yinamam upayantite, by which they can come back to me. So by Yogeshwara Prasad, by the mercy of Krishna, he is the master of all mystics, and one mystic ability is that Krishna is present in all of our hearts and he enlightens us. The next verse in Bhagavad Gita says that with the shining lamp of knowledge, I illuminate their hearts and destroy the darkness of ignorance. So Krishna has this mystic ability as Yogeshwara that he can enlighten all of us from within our own hearts. And he does this through the spiritual master, Divya Gyan Hriday Prokashito. Now, Srila Prabhupada hones in on the concept of duality and explains that this is our situation in this material world, that we are in this illusion that there's good and bad, and we're so thrown around by the waves of material life that if I am healthy, if I have money, if I have people who are nice to me around me, if I've got nice food, then good, very nice. That is material success. And if we don't have these things, then we are in distress. But Chaitanya Charitamrita says that this is manodharma. This is mental concoction. And it's meaningless to actually distinguish between good and bad or happiness and distress. So how do we understand this? Well, we can see from the transcendental perspective, everything is coming as a result of our previous activities, but it's all under the control of Krishna. Ishvara Parama Krishna. Krishna is the supreme controller of everything. And he gives us free will to act as we please, and he sets up this system of karma by which we receive reactions to our own activities, and he doesn't have to be directly involved. You know, an expert manager or leader, what are they able to do? They delegate. Yeah. So Krishna delegates the task of taking care of the material world to the devatas, and he can kick back in Goloka Vrindavan and eternally enjoy with his devotees. And who is it that actually expands from Krishna and takes care of all of us in the material world? Yes? The spiritual master, who is an expansion of? Paramatma, who is an expansion of? Balaram. Yes. Balaram. He is the one who takes care of us in this material world. So Krishna delegates this task of taking care of this material world to Balaram. And in this material world, there's this automatic system of karma. And so whatever good or bad that is happening in our lives is coming as a result of our own previous activities. Therefore, an intelligent person understands, as Lord Brahma says, Bhunjana evatma kritam vipakam. Yeah, atma krita. They have done it to themselves. Whatever is coming in my life is a result of my wrongdoings in the past. There's a modern conception of victim mentality. And what is the victim mentality? What is it? How would you describe it in a word, in a sentence?
Not taking responsibility for what is happening to us, which is like, it's just happening to me.
Yes, not taking responsibility for what is happening to us.
Blaming others.
And putting the responsibility on others, yes. In a simple way, you can say that a victim mentality person thinks that life is happening to me, not for me. So the opposite would be everything is happening for me, because Krishna is arranging everything beneficially, mercifully, to help me grow. So there is no good and bad for a devotee, in the sense that everything is coming from Krishna, because Krishna takes our previous reactions and he makes them beneficial for us. He gives us just a token reaction of what we should have gotten. Maybe we were meant to die in a car accident, but he has us just get in an accident and lose our car. Our car is totaled. And so we might think, oh, that was so terrible, but it might have been much worse. And for a materialist, we can see that there is no good and bad, because actually everything is bad. From this perspective, why is everything bad for a materialist? Because even the so-called good.
Because he's suffering in his life and also like he's not preparing for
Yeah.
spiritual.
Maybe you get some momentary pleasure in this life, but actually it's mostly suffering. Dukhalayam ashashvatam. And then you're not preparing for your next life because you're so absorbed in this one, and so you're going to suffer again in the next lifetime. Yeah, so for a materialist, actually everything is bad. And for a transcendentalist, everything is good. So we can see from this analysis how there is no good and bad. And then practically, now what do we do with this knowledge? Srila Prabhupada quotes Bhagavad Gita. Krishna explains that we need to practice what quality? Tolerance. Yeah. This quality of tolerance is very difficult because we as conditioned beings have certain likes and dislikes. And for example, my body doesn't do very well in cold. And so when it's cold outside, I feel this is bad and I'm not happy. Or if I have to take a cold shower, like recently, somehow in the men's ashram, the water will just turn cold all of a sudden. Maybe it's not recent, but so you're having a nice hot shower and enjoying, and then all of a sudden, it's like I'm in India again. The water just becomes freezing out of nowhere. Oh, this is bad, this is bad. So, we forgot to pay the bill. So if we're conditioned, if we're thinking that only one half of life is nice and the other half is miserable, then half the time we're going to be miserable or more. So it's just not an intelligent way to live. And so even a devotee may get sometimes affected by these things until we're in a transcendental state. But still, we can use everything as fuel for coming closer to Krishna. And we can do everything for the pleasure of Krishna. Krishna says, Yat karoshi, yat ashnasi. Can anyone complete the shloka? Yat juhoshi dadasiyat. Tat mararpanam. Do it all for me. Yeah, very nice. Whatever you eat, whatever sacrifices you do, whatever austerities, whatever charity you give, do it all for me, Krishna says. So if the water goes cold, or if we choose intentionally to take a cold shower, we should do it for Krishna. And we will find spiritual strength in doing austerities for Krishna. But if we try to do those same austerities just with our own self in mind, and we're not connecting it to Krishna, then it can make us hard-hearted and proud. Yes, I'm the most austere one in the ashram. I take cold showers every morning at 3 a.m. I chant 32 rounds every day. We can get lost in pride, and this is the danger of austerity without Krishna consciousness. So yes, we need to practice tolerance, but it should be connected to Krishna. So this verse combined with the other one, Tat Kurushva Mad Arpanam, do it all for Krishna's pleasure. And then the austerities will soften our heart, not harden our heart. Because we can even see examples of great souls who did not have a hard heart. One example that comes to mind is Bhakti Tirtha Swami, a great disciple of Srila Prabhupada, who would, in Kalakanta Prabhu, we've heard directly from him, who traveled with him in a van for some time. They were in the BBT library party, traveling both around America and Europe. Bhakti Tirtha Swami would eat this is how I've heard it. He would eat nothing all day long, go out and distribute books all day long, and then come back in the evening and have a little bit of nuts or something. Kalakant Prabhu was telling us that he would eat yogurt and avocados. I think that was his diet. And Bhakti Tirtha's, and that was maybe a little indulgent, compared to what Bhakti Tirtha Swami was doing from one perspective. And both, so austere, both of these diets. And yet, neither of these devotees we see have a hard heart, and because they were doing it all for Krishna's pleasure. And Bhakti Tirtha Swami also had this wonderful practice of writing a letter to Srila Prabhupada every day. He would express his heart to Srila Prabhupada early in the morning. He would wake up and chant many rounds and offer his heart to Krishna in a letter. And he even went behind the Iron Curtain during the time of the Soviet Union, and he was distributing books, even though he was a black man, and there was practically nobody who looked like he did in that part of the world. And he was very tall, from what I understand, and a very bold person. So somehow, at risk of torture and imprisonment in a concentration camp, he was distributing Srila Prabhupada's books fearlessly and running away from the KGB. They're amazing stories. You should give it a look sometime. And so all these austerities he did not make him hard-hearted. Our Srila Prabhupada also did unimaginable austerities. He retired from his family life when he was in his mid-50s, and he went to live in Vrindavan. He eventually ended up in Radha Damodar temple. And yet, Srila Prabhupada didn't stay in the beautiful, tranquil environment of Vrindavan, but what was he doing? He was writing Srimad Bhagavatam, translations and purports, the first canto. And Srila Prabhupada would take his manuscripts to Delhi. Although he had practically no money, he would somehow get a little amount of donations and go to Delhi and go to a printer. And there was ration of paper at the time. So Srila Prabhupada, against great odds, would somehow acquire paper, and he would personally bring it in a rickshaw, or if he didn't have the funds, he would walk many miles just to save the money. He didn't have a proper coat. Even those of you who have been to Delhi or lived in Delhi, you know how cold it can get. And Srila Prabhupada had no proper winter coat. And he would even skip meals. He would just fast so he could have enough money to afford the paper, to afford paying the printer. And he eventually secured a passage. He went to this wealthy woman, Sumati Morarji, who he had some previous relationship with. They were friendly, and Srila Prabhupada sat for hours on the stairs going into her office building, just waiting there. You imagine this elderly sannyasi humbly sitting and waiting for this woman, because he was so determined. My spiritual master wanted me to go to the West. So he waited and waited and waited, finally talked to her, and she gave him passage. Although she said, Swamiji, you're going to die. And he didn't even know if there would be proper arrangement for prasadam there. Like I was just talking to Vishaka yesterday, and we were talking about the idea of going to Montreal for some time, and she was saying, yeah, we just have to be aware sometimes the prasadam arrangements aren't so timely, and sometimes you may not get prasadam, or maybe the pujari sees no one there and they take it home. And so we get a little in anxiety that we may miss a few meals. But imagine Srila Prabhupada, he's going not to some comfortable temple, 8 hours away, but he's going across the whole planet to another country he's never been to. He doesn't know anyone there. He has one acquaintance, and he doesn't even know if he can eat properly. So he brought with him cereals is the description, so I guess some type of grains he was bringing. He was thinking he might have to eat nothing but just rice and potatoes. He didn't know if he could find any proper vegetables. He thought maybe everyone would just eat meat. He had no idea. Suffering heart attacks on the way. There's so many, we could go on and on. In New York, there was this state of emergency because there was so much snow and freezing cold weather. And he just had these thin slippers, these thin white slippers that he was wearing. And he wore a dhoti, just, thin cotton in the free. Imagine in Toronto, maybe you all have done this before, just wearing a dhoti or wearing just a sari going out into the freezing weather. One last thing I'll share about Prabhupada's austerities is that he was living first with Sally Agarwal and Gopal Agarwal, who ate meat. And so Srila Prabhupada had to keep his boga, his vegetables and things, in a refrigerator with meat, which was unheard of for a cultured Bengali gentleman, what to speak of a pure devotee. And she would respectfully smoke her cigarettes outside. And then Srila Prabhupada stayed with a Mayavadi teacher who didn't allow Srila Prabhupada to speak. He would let him do kirtan, but he didn't let Srila Prabhupada speak any philosophy. But the one time he finally did allow, Prabhupada immediately started talking against Mayavad philosophy very boldly. And Srila Prabhupada then had to stay in this apartment with no windows, no cooking facility, and he had to go downstairs and then walk something like 10 minutes just to get to a washroom so he could take his morning shower. Can you imagine? And then staying with this boy in art, is like an artist's loft, they called them. And this boy was taking a lot of drugs and went psychotic one day and tried to kill Srila Prabhupada. So we could go on and on and on about the austerities of Srila Prabhupada, how much he sacrificed his sleep, his time, everything he sacrificed to bring us this environment, this temples all over the world, these books, the Sangha, the Prasadam, all of it we owe to Srila Prabhupada's immense austerities. And for him, there's no question of difficulty in tolerance like it may be for us sometimes. Going out and distributing books might feel hard, or setting up and organizing outreach programs and talking to guests might feel like, I don't want to do this, I've got other things I'd rather do. But for someone like Srila Prabhupada, there's no question of difficulty. There's a beautiful quote from Bhaktivinoda Thakur that the suffering I go through to serve you, my dear Lord, is my greatest pleasure. So imagine that consciousness. There's no duality for a pure devotee because they feel great satisfaction even in going through so much trouble to serve Krishna. Because that's a symptom of love, isn't it? That you're willing to give up your own pleasure for the sake of your beloved. A mother, how much love does she give to her child, sacrificing sleepless nights, giving her own body for so many months, going through the great pain of birthing a child. Every moment of every day. My brother just had a child, so I'm hearing firsthand that it's just a complete absorption. Someone is fully dependent on you and you have no other choice and especially the mother. The child is completely dependent on the mother's breast milk. So out of love, we sacrifice our own pain. And this is how we can really follow this instruction of tolerance and go beyond the dualities of material life, is to develop affection. And we may not have that right now for Krishna, but at least we can develop affection for our spiritual master. Or if we don't yet have a spiritual master, try to develop that affection for Srila Prabhupada by hearing about his life. I gave a few brief examples, but if you read the Lila Amrita, you will fall in love with this pure devotee, our spiritual grandfather. So developing affection for Srila Prabhupada, for our spiritual master, will allow us to go through difficulties, and it won't feel difficult. It will feel like, maybe it will be painful, sure, but we'll feel satisfied and we'll have the strength to push on. So let us all take this lesson from today's discussion to develop some affection. And the last thing I'll say is one key I have learned in how to develop affection is through gratitude. Because if we look at what we have received from the previous devotees in Toronto, for example, the exalted Prabhupada disciples, and Krishnadas Kaviraj Prabhu, for example. I mean, there's so many. Can we name a few? What are Shri Vilas Prabhu and Mother Praharana, Mother Subudhi, Dharma Prana Prabhu, yeah, Dakshin Prabhu. Yeah, so many. We could go. Jai Shri Prabhu, Bhakti Marg Swami Maharaj, of course. Harakumar Prabhu is such dedicated souls. Brahma Prabhu, his wife, Satvadana Mataji. Yeah, these Dwarkanath Prabhu, so many devotees. Yeah, and by developing this sense of gratitude for what we have received, then what's the natural byproduct of gratitude?
Affection.
Is affection, yes, and reciprocation out of affection. Because affection isn't just a feeling that, oh, I love you so much. Can you help me? No. No, you have to do something. That's why Prabhupada translates bhakti as devotion? No, not loving devotion only, but devotional service. Yes, loving devotion is very nice. And service, something practical we do to reciprocate. So it's a natural consequence of gratitude to do something in return. And as we get more and more grateful, as we do more and more to reciprocate with our indebtedness we feel, we'll develop affection more and more and more. And if we have affection for a pure devotee of Krishna, and if we're serving them with that affection, they will be so pleased. Because imagine a pure devotee is pleased even just to see someone come in the temple and take darshan and just have a little sweet prasad. Imagine how much more pleased they will be with someone who is seriously taking up the practice, living in Bhakti Academy. Imagine how much more pleased they will be if we are going out of our way to take on some difficulties, to please the other devotees, to advance the merciful movement of Lord Chaitanya, to help suffering souls become happy. How much we will be blessed. And then, Yasya prasadad, Bhagavat prasado. We get Krishna's blessings and our life is perfect. So let us be grateful, let us reciprocate out of gratitude and make our lives perfect and share this perfection with others. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Yes. Is that a stretch?
It was, and it was also.
And then it turned into also. Yeah.
So I have one comment and two questions. Comment is like life is happening for you and not to you. Was a good reminder. Like having that reminder like Krishna is taking care of you and it's not like being distressed unnecessarily. It's just for you to grow. That was a good reminder. And here in the purpose there is a line that says, the liberated person being above the influence of the three modes of material nature is unaffected by such dualities in all circumstances. So what's about three modes of material nature? So we heard like we always have to be in the mode of goodness. So what's even about that?
Yeah, Shuddha Sattva. So if you're in the mode of goodness with no contamination of passion and ignorance, that's the transcendental state.
Okay, so
Yeah.
pure mode of goodness.
Pure mode of goodness, yeah, because we see in Gita that the modes are mixed. They're always competing for dominance and there's always some alloy. But when we have unalloyed goodness, that's the transcendental state. Yeah, the Vasudev platform. Yes.
And in the following line, there was it says like he remains Krishna conscious by tolerating so-called happiness and distress. So how do we remain like Krishna conscious all the time? What's the practical step?
How do we practically remain Krishna conscious in all dualities of life? Well, Krishna explains in the Gita the many ways we can see him. So we have to learn to see Krishna in everything, whatever is happening. Like, for example, the cold water analogy. This cold water is Krishna's sweet embrace, for example. Like, this is the mentality of the gopis. They see everything is related to Krishna. Everything becomes this beautiful poetic analogy. They see the full moon and they think of Krishna's moon-like face, Krishna Chandra, Vrindavan Chandra. And so we have to develop this awareness that Krishna is everywhere and in everything. And that comes by the grace of those who have that realization. So we should associate with, hear from, and develop affection for those devotees who have that realization. And then it will come. Dadami buddhi yogam tam. Krishna will give us that awareness. Thank you, Jai Prabhu. Yes, Amalaharna.
Prabhu, what practical tips you would suggest to inculcate that mode of tolerance? Because I personally think that I am not it. However, I see Mona Prabhu, he's really good with it. Anyone is coming, even in a strict way, he'll be able to humbly just able to listen to him and he'll be answering them humbly. However, it's not the same case with me personally speaking. Or even if two devotees are fighting, I won't see who is right or I was like, you guys are bad.
Yeah, interpersonal tolerance.
Yeah.
Well, one tip that I've heard from Kalakanta Prabhu is give it some time. If we're emotionally disturbed, then we can politely excuse ourselves from the interaction and say that I want to get back to you, I just need a little time to think about it. And then once we're in a more calm state, then we process how we want to respond in the most mature way and go back. So give some time. Or when you're going to send a WhatsApp message and when you're angry, give it a little time. Then wait 24 hours, think about it, get some advice, then respond. So time would be the practical tip. Yeah.
And a follow-up, there are also some situations where we are not supposed to be tolerating things. For example, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj used to say, if somebody is preaching Mayavad, you don't stay there, either you defeat him or you just leave that place. So what are the more things where we are not supposed to?
Yeah, we shouldn't tolerate if devotees or Krishna are being criticized. That's the main one. And so we should counteract it or leave. But those who are in a service of leadership, there's an additional responsibility. So it's different, if you don't have the duty to correct others, then you may just inform. If you hear something that's not proper, you may just inform a leader so they can deal with it. But if you are the leader, then you have the responsibility to deal with it yourself or consult with other leaders and make sure that things are corrected. So there's an additional responsibility there for leaders. Yes. And any final point before we close off? Yes, Himanshu.
When you mentioned Prabhu, like we have to see everything as Krishna. So I remind from one of the class, like I think so. Either it was Srila Gaura Sai Maharaj or Radha Govind Maharaj. So when they first time came to I think so US, so we have this stream right for Mount Wash. So there were two distinct bottles in the washroom. So he went inside and we saw one bottle is of blue color and the other is yellow. So they were like Krishna Balaram. So they were like Denver. So then devotees went inside, like why Maharaj is not coming? Maharaj was crying and like paying dandavats. They were like, oh, there's Krishna Balaram. There was like this
Wow, amazing.
how their consciousness
It's a
is like.
great example. Yes. Yeah, and so a devotee on that platform, then any pain that's coming in life, then they actually feel grateful. Like Parikshit Maharaj in the first canto gets cursed by Shringi. He didn't really do anything wrong. And yet, he was so repentant, he felt that I need to be punished for my mistake. And let whatever punishment come to me. And then shortly after, he heard the news that he was cursed to die within 7 days. And he immediately was ready to take action and take advantage of the opportunity. So yeah, let us develop that understanding that Krishna is Bhoktaram Yagya Tapasam. Next. Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. Suhradam Sarvabhutanam Gyatvamam Shanti Michati. Yes, let us understand Krishna is the supreme enjoyer, controller, and friend. And then we can be peaceful in our devotional service. Thank you all. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.